plumbing?
No, he doesn't mind the plumbing, it's that one.
I don't see
Getting
that.
under the
Boy Scouts. Councilor Edwards, would you like to lead us in the pledge, please? Okay, thank you. All right. Where is our city manager? I just saw her. Okay. Here she comes, I think, right? So we can start, I think. Good evening and welcome to the Leon Valley City Council meeting. We appreciate your patience. It is now 10 minutes after 6 on Tuesday, September 18th, 2018, and this is our regular City Council meeting. We ran a little over from our workshop, and I did notice that we had a citizens to be heard on that portion, so if any citizen would like to have a comment during our citizens to be heard in the regular meeting, please address the ordinance, and I apologize for that. So we want to welcome you and the people at home that are tuning in to our live stream. Please silence your cell phones, and just remember that at any of the agenda items, our council rules allow for your input, so just raise your hand and you have up to 3 minutes at a particular council agenda item. So we do have a quorum. All council members are present, and I've asked Councilor David Edwards to please lead us in the pledge. So if you'll please stand and join us. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Agenda item number 2 is presentations, and number 1 is our monthly financial report. And we have Ashley Wayman, our Assistant Finance Director, here this evening to present. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Am I in the video? Okay. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Yeah, perfect. All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we'll be going over our financial report through August 31st. I guess I need a clicker. All right. So I hope y'all can see that okay with the light bulb out. If you have any questions, just let me know. We'll start with our general fund. As last month, everything's looking pretty good in the general fund. Sales tax is up 5.89% this month, so we're still doing good there for the year. Our franchise taxes are still a little bit low. We keep in mind there's a CPS accrual, so we accrue those taxes back once we receive them at the end of the fiscal year. So that will jump up, and that will be right by the end of the fiscal year. As well as our cable is a little bit low, our cable franchise taxes, and we are just kind of writing those out, as we get them, and they're just going to, I guess, do what they're going to do. As far as our license, permits, fees, and fines go, they are obviously very high, and mostly that's due to the red light cameras and impound lot. We have those broken down later for you. As far as our miscellaneous goes, it is on the rise due to now receiving some of our reimbursement for our Evers Road Bridge project.
Evers Road Bridge.
Yes, so those are all starting to come in now, and we have billed some more, so there are more coming in, so that should be jumping up soon.
And Ashley, the sales tax is actually 2 months behind?
Yes, ma'am.
That's why it's not higher than it is, because it's 2 months behind.
Correct. This is just through June.
Through June.
So we accrue back in October and November, and that's when everything will jump up to normal.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Martinez.
Would it, in the future, would it be possible, under license permits, fees, and fines, separate the red light fines and fees as a separate line item instead of, that way we can see our license and permits separate other than?
We could do that. We do also have those coming up on the next slide. That's why we broke out the full slide for the red light camera and the full slide for the impound. So if you'd like to see it on here,
I wouldn't mind seeing it on here.
We try not to
What about the rest of my counselors?
Is it a lot more work to do that, or,
as long as it can still be seen on the PowerPoint. If we get too many more lines in, it might be hard to read.
Yeah.
But if that's what y'all would like to see, we can definitely break those out in there just so you get an idea.
Okay, well, we might could try it and see if we like it and go, what do y'all think?
Actually, I like it this way because it gives you a broad sense of what's going on. And then, like Ashley's saying, as she goes through, then it gets more streamlined.
Okay,
It's more itemized to me if you leave it with the red light with its own slide so it can break it down. To me, it's more understandable.
so you're for putting the red light separate?
The way they have it now.
Oh, the way they have it now,
broken out
okay.
now.
All right, okay, all right. Counselor Edwards, do you have an opinion one way or the other?
Yeah, I'd kind of like to see what percentage of funds are coming from the red light revenue. I'd like to see it broken out.
Okay, we can have that by percent next month to, just have that ready to present as well. I will show you the numbers
Yes,
coming up on the
'cause
next
you got
slide.
it in the slide, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Alrighty. And expenditures in the general fund, we're all on track from what we can see. So I will move on to water and sewer. Again, water and sewer is looking good this month as well. Our water sales are about where they were last year as far as percentage. They are up a little bit, dollar-wise. As far as that fund, pretty much the only notable thing would be the miscellaneous is up, and again, that's due to the CDBG grants for Timber Hill and Conestoga project. And as far as our expenditures, they're all tracking there as well, unless we have any questions.
Okay.
Another note on the water sales, now that it's the summer months, we're really getting to see a really good picture of, of the water sales. So we're right on track.
Okay. All right.
Alrighty. And moving on to our community center fund, your hotel and motel taxes have not changed since the last financial report. Those come in quarterly. So this still includes just through the quarter ended June. So by the end of the year, we'll be able to see that jump up to where it's supposed to be. As far as our community and conference center rental fees, they're kind of where they were. They're not necessarily tracking. They're not like where we would like to see them. But our expenditures in that fund are on track. So.
Yeah, I wish this would be a little higher.
I know. For our economic and community development fund, or it's part of the general fund, but it's broken down here in detail so you can see it. For sales tax revenue, again, same boat as the other sales tax, 2 months behind, but still trending upward. The big change in this fund that you'll see is our expenditures have gone up, and that's in our contractual from our ED project funding. And that one, there was a $48,000 fund for the Hebner Road silos this last month. So you'll see a pretty big jump in there from last month, and that's why.
Okay. All right. Any questions on the economic community development slide?
Okay. And our red light cameras. So again, this just reflects the activity from mid-March through the end of August. So again, not a full fiscal year, and we don't have any revenue to compare it to from last year. Our tier 1 is the amounts that we account for and report to the state. So of our revenue, part of that will go to the state after we take out all of our administrative expenses. Our contractual category does now include payment to ATS, which is our vendor, through July. So it's more reflecting our actual payments. And other than that,
And then where or do we show how much we sent to the state? And do you wait, and do you do that on a monthly basis, or you do that at the end of the
one time at the end of the fiscal year?
One time at the end.
Yes.
So, but we don't have that shown here on this slide, right?
Correct. So we get all of our revenues, take out all of our expenses from tier 1, but that's, again, it changes monthly. So as we have more revenues, as we have more expenditures, and then whatever's left, half of that goes to the state. The other half becomes our tier 2, our traffic safety program.
But when we close out the fiscal year, we'll get that amount that we've sent to the state, correct?
Yes, there will be reports, and I'm not sure when they, when they ask for those reports, because it does take a few months after the fiscal
Oh,
year
okay.
closes to get, everything.
So it won't be like in October? It'll be-
Probably not,
okay.
but most,
All
yeah,
right.
at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, very good, thank you.
All right. And finally, our impound lot, not a whole lot to report here. Again, our revenues have surpassed what we budgeted, and our expenditures all seem to be on track here. So, have any questions about that one?
Okay, so we still have just another month here
Correct, yes, ma'am.
before we close it out, and we will have when did we start this program, impound lot? It's been a year,
I
right?
think it's
So
been
we'll
the
get
full
a
fiscal year. Correct, yes.
analysis
at the
of
end
a
of
year.
this year. We will.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure about that. And we do have an auction that those proceeds are not reflected here.
Correct.
It's
There
coming
is one
up.
coming up.
Coming up,
believe.
I think it's September 27th.
Yes. Yeah,
or
and those
September,
then will
yeah.
be in the next
Okay.
month's financial.
All right,
So.
very good. Okay, any other questions for Ashley on the financial report?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Counselor Edwards?
It may be on, my question may be on the scope of the data you have, but my question is, do we know if the overall collections by the state are up for the year, and is Leon Valley about that same level or exceeding what the state revenues are?
Is that red light cameras, sales tax,
Collection.
impound lot, which one? Sales tax.
Sales
Okay.
tax and other
All
kinds
right.
of collections like that.
As far-
aside from red light and impound lot.
Right. I don't have that data with me. I can, we have our data, and I can definitely get that to you.
Okay.
In the next week.
So the last I heard, we were up 6.8%
This-
on sales tax, is that correct?
5.89 for
5.89
August.
for
And I believe
August.
September's come in, and I didn't.
Okay, so I
5.53.
guess your question is, how do we compare to the state average? Is that right?
Are we exceeding or
Okay.
keeping pace? Or?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, maybe,
Let me get that information.
do you happen to know that, Vicki?
have to do is compared to other cities.
Yeah.
And so you can go to the comptroller's website, and you can pull down any city that you want to pull down,
Oh.
see what their sales tax trend is. The only thing is, we have a chart that we have since.
Oh, that big,
yeah,
long
the
one, yeah.
90s, that tells
Mhm.
us the percentage that we've gone up. So we would have to go back and look and see what did they, and they'll have the historical history there. What did they collect in 17? What have they done in 18? Just to get the percentage, which is not really a big deal, but they're not completed yet.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I want to make sure, are there any questions from our citizens, our visitors this afternoon on the budget? Please come forward. We'd love to hear from you if you have a question.
And I'll point out to everyone that this report and other additional financial reports are on our website. If you get through the agenda, you can click right here on this link and go there. And if not, they're under Departments, Finance, Financial Transparency.
Very good. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. All right. Moving then to agenda item number 2, presentations. Staff report on the 2018 swim season for both city pools. And we have, well, we don't have Dave Demeline as I'm looking at my agenda. We have Melinda Mortz this afternoon. I keep saying this afternoon because it's still a light here to present. And good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and
Yes.
Council. Yes, I'm David stand-in today.
Yes, okay.
Well, the bulb may not be working, but the slide thing is. And so just a little background, Sela Aquatics provides our management and oversees the operations of both city pools. They're open from Memorial Day to Labor Day, and they're in charge of staffing of lifeguards, responsible for maintaining the water quality and monitoring membership. Fees include gate fees, season passes, party rentals, swim lessons, water aerobics, swim team, and concessions. The season passes were available for purchase online at www.leonvalleypools.com. It was $40 per pass or 3 monthly installments of $20. The daily gate fee was $5, and then Sela offered discounted rates for daycares and camps. The pools were open from May 26th through September the 2nd. Both were open on Memorial Day and Labor Day. The schedules varied this year at each pool, with the community pool closing at 7 p.m. and the Forest Oaks pool closing at 8 p.m. From August 13th through September 2nd, both pools were closed during the week. This year, the food and beverage menu was expanded, and that was a direct recommendation from the Pool Advisory Committee. During the 2018 season, SELA offered swim lessons, swim team, the water aerobics, and then party rentals. And then at the end of the season, SELA administered a season pass customer survey. Unfortunately, he got it to me 5 minutes after this meeting had started. So you all have that report on your email.
Okay.
And we couldn't bring it up in here because she's afraid of fishing. So, but you'll have that, and we
What?
will present that. Fishing?
Oh, fishing. Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
But so you all have it. It's just we didn't have it in time for this meeting, so
Okay.
we'll bring it back. The total revenues brought in by SELA was $51,113, which is a 9% increase from 2017. And you can see here all the breakouts for it and the change. As you know, this year we did a first time, we're doing revenue sharing with them. And so the first $43,000 goes to SELA, and then there's a percentage of the rest. And so the next percentage was 25%. They brought in $8,113, and then what comes to the city is $2,028. The net cost to operate both the pools for the 2018 season totaled $73,216. Now, what you're not seeing in here was we had that wall repair at the Forest Oaks pool, and so that wall repair was $28,740, and it's not included in here. It is a one-time expense. Hopefully, we never have to do it again, but just so you know. And so the net cost to operate the pools after we take out the revenue was $73,216. And so minus the repair part of it, the cost per pool to operate was $32,035. Just so you know, I broke it out into two pools.
Melinda, wasn't the deck redone this year as well?
That's what I was just telling them.
Oh, I thought it was the wall.
That is the wall.
To the pool. Okay, all right.
It's part of the deck and then the whole wall.
Oh,
on the
okay,
site.
all right.
The fiscal year 2017-18 budget includes the operational costs for the pool and for the pool repairs. And then this presentation is for briefing purposes, but we do have our representatives from SELA here. If y'all had any additional questions for them, I think y'all remember Rob Dowie
Sure.
and
Certainly.
Daniel. And that's all I have. Does anybody have any
Okay.
questions?
Any questions for Melinda on our presentation for the pools? So I just want to be sure the additional cost to repair the wall, was that included in the 73? It wasn't, so we
No,
have
ma'am.
to add that.
Yes.
And that's how much? So we're talking over $100,000 for this
Yes,
year.
that wall repair was $28,740.
And what was wrong with it? It was just collapsing, or
Yes.
is that what it was? Yeah.
Yep. It was
mean-
made out of wood timbers on the side
Mm-hmm.
and then built up from there, and there was no concrete in it.
Okay.
And so it, just eroded over the years and years. I think that pool was put in there back in the early 70s.
Early 70s.
And
So
so
that
they've
was
never
it,
been
the
repaired.
original deck?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right, very good. Okay, thank you. All right. Yes, Counselor Jordan, did you have a question?
Just for this
Yes.
gentleman here.
Hi, Rob, how are you, and welcome from Louisiana?
From Louisiana.
Yes, sir.
This year, no hurricane while I'm here.
Okay, there you go. I think
there
last year
was
you had a hurricane,
back
yeah.
home when I was here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we did the survey.
Mm-hmm.
The survey went out a few days after the pools closed. We left it open as long as we could. So basically, as soon as we got all that data collected, we summarized it into this report that I'm going to show you.
Okay.
So we asked people how often they go. By the way, this was sent out to pass holders and anyone who registered for a pool party or an event where we actually had them in our system as a customer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can just take a look at some of these things. We don't really need to dissect them too much, but it's interesting to see that a quarter of people go to the pools only once to 5 times during the season, but also at the same time, there's a large amount of people that go more than 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how many times per week? That's some good information. which pool do you visit more frequently? I think this is one of the biggest tells. As one of the things we've observed is managing both pools. Forest Oaks was privately owned the year before we came in as the contractor for the city. And just for instance, if you look at the Pool Advisory Committee, I think all of them are from Forest Oaks. And generally the feedback that we get, positive or negative, is coming from Forest Oaks members. There's a lot of silence and a lot of not a lot of feedback coming from the other pool. And it's interesting because of the 43 people who took the time to fill out the survey, 75% of them came from Forest Oaks. Okay, so the big question going into the season was what the pricing was going to be. You may have noticed that we charge $40 per person for a pass, or 3 payments of $20 if someone wanted to break it out in installments. What's interesting about that, if you notice from the expenses, it said $300 uncollected. Almost everyone did the season all upfront payment, and half of the people who broke it into installments did not make the installments. They just turned their card off. So that's why we were left out of $300. So that's $300, $20 payments. So we're going to have to review whether or not we want to do that anymore. So yeah, overwhelming. The 5 is most satisfied. There's a few people who think that it should be free. One of the common threads that we hear throughout the summer at the community pool is, this should be free. People at the Forest Oaks pool will actually tell us this needs to be more expensive. And I don't know what you can just think about that a little more, I'm guessing. They have reasons for making the crowd smaller or whatever they want to do. So you have 2 totally different mindsets of the crowds between the 2 pools. All right, so one of the questions we ask is wait time for buying a drink, waiting to check into the pool. And so it's broken down. Basically, we're just trying to gauge whether or not people are satisfied with their first experience coming in the door is important to us. We know from looking at the data that the longest wait times are when we have daycares. So when we bring a daycare in, there's 30 kids getting off a bus, and we're trying to funnel them through the door, put them in wristbands or puddle hoppers if they don't know how to swim. Puddle hoppers are like a Coast Guard approved life jacket. The members and the pass holders in the community generally have to wait several minutes to get in through the door. That's going to have to be something we're going to look at moving forward, is how can we get the large groups that come to the Forest Oaks pool in without having such an impact on everyone else. Okay, so we asked a series of questions about the lifeguards. At our core, this is what we provide. The lifeguards are the staff that operate the pool. The first question involves satisfaction with the safety of the staff. The lifeguards are regularly checked by the managers with their lifeguard skills, and that happens in front of the pool patrons. So it's pretty common for a pool patron to be at the pool while they're doing a whole scenario in front of the members. And so we practice that on an ongoing basis. Professionalism of the lifeguards, customer service. We find that the satisfaction with customer service at the community pool is almost universal. Everyone's very satisfied. And I think one of the transitions of going from privately owned Forest Oaks to now city-run pools is the perception of this isn't my private backyard pool anymore at Forest Oaks. So concessions, we've totally revamped the menu. The Pool Advisory Board really helped us with that. We were able to meet almost all of their requests. The only request we didn't meet was for 5-cent, 10-cent quarter candies, like small pieces of candy. That's not something we took on. But we added hamburgers and corn dogs and popcorn and vegan ice cream and just a full variety of things. I mean, it was pretty impressive. That actually came in the middle of the season. One of the former counselors was at the pool and suggested it, and we tried it, and we rolled it out, and within that week, everyone was asking for it.
Really? I'll be.
It's pretty cool.
Huh.
I bet you know who that was. All right. So, yeah, were you satisfied with the concessions offered at the pool? Okay. Did I skip another one? No. Would you recommend this to a friend? That's an important question that we're looking at. Overwhelmingly, yes. There's a few people who had a negative stance on this. How likely are you to renew? Okay, and then so we took all the comments. We have an open-ended question where we say, tell us anything that you like or don't like. And basically, we try to summarize that in. So there's outliers where people will say one thing that's just kind of out in left field. All that's not on here, but these are the common things. So the bathrooms, if it's 100 degrees during the summer and it's an outdoor bathroom and it's in a small room, there's not a lot of air going in there, and floor's wet from kids' bathing suits, it's a very uncomfortable spot. So people are asking for updates, better cleaning, which is actually on us. That's one of the common threads that we saw was people did not generally agree that the bathrooms were kept up to where they should be.
Yeah, I agree.
So more shaded areas. This is something that we hear in comments day in and day out. SELA actually went and bought 3 large red umbrellas at our own expense to put at each pool, so a total of 6. We spent about $300 or $400 each, just so that there was something that people could put over their head if they didn't want to go under the overhang. So if you go out and look at the pool and you see those big red umbrellas, those are things that we purchased. There are several people that want early morning lap swim just for adults, for fitness swimming. There's a demand for later evenings. People are generally asking on Saturdays and Fridays and Saturdays, can we keep the Forest Oaks pool open later? I'll come back to that in just a second. A longer swim season, meaning extending it longer into the actual school year. Need for new pool furniture, which came in the day we closed. So the furniture was ordered by the city, I believe in the middle of the year, and it came in the day after the pools closed. So we have that for next year. And is a common thread of, hey, why is this wall by the pool being done in the middle of the pool season? I think that's probably the biggest complaint, other than why am I wearing a wristband? So we wristband everyone. That wasn't in the survey, but that was in our day-to-day interactions with people coming to the pool. Okay, so we don't need to dissect this, but you can look at this on your own time. The way that this is divided is every 15 minutes, our lifeguards, when they rotate down off of a lifeguard stand, they count how many people are in the pool, in the baby pool, and on deck. So these numbers represent everyone within the gates at that time. That's not check-ins, so that's not 28 new people and then 26 more people, so you don't add them all together. This is like if I were to take a picture of a pool at 1 o'clock on a Sunday, there are 15 people on average for all the Sundays at 1 o'clock in June. Okay, so this is the data that we use to determine, do we need 3 lifeguards, 2 lifeguards, 4 lifeguards. We look at the closing numbers to see, do we need to extend later? Because if we're closing and there's a constant crowd at the pool, maybe we should consider that, change that in the future. Or if we're opening and no one's coming for the first 2 hours, maybe the solution is to just push everything back. One person on the survey actually said, maybe we should close in the middle of the day, open early, then close right after lunch, and then reopen and stay open later. Just something, we would compare that sort of suggestion to this data. So we have June, then we have July, then we have August.
What's the average of people to lifeguards or lifeguards to people, I wonder?
Okay, go ahead and ask that.
I had a quick question. What's the, looking at the screen where it says the August usage, what's the ratio of people to lifeguards or lifeguards to people?
So there's actually no answer to that question, and nor is there a Red Cross requirement or even a suggestion.
Okay.
So if we're at a daycare, we're always going to add an extra staff member, even if it's only 10 people. Okay. If it's an adult pool party, we're not going to add an extra staff member if it's 10 people. If it's 40 people and it's adults, we would consider adding an extra staff member. Okay. So it gets pretty complicated. And the other thing about this, these numbers, we could actually break this down even more. I could tell you how many people are in the pool at any given time. This is within the facility. So these numbers actually could be deceiving, because you could be thinking, oh my God, there's 50 people in the pool all the time. But really, it's only 20 people in the pool and 30 are on deck. Okay? So that's the average usage. Feel free to break that down. You can always ask me questions. I sent an email to all the council and the staff today. So if you want to dissect any of this, just let me know.
And so, Rob, when were the daycares there?
So daycares and pool parties this year only were allowed to use Forest Oaks.
Okay.
Because there's an indoor area. If weather turns bad, we want to be able to house them safely, not just leave them under trees. And so we made that decision to put all special events at Forest Oaks, and they were what days of the week? Pretty much.
Monday, Thursday, Friday daycares.
Okay.
And Saturday, Sundays, basically every weekend we had parties.
You had parties, yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the report that Melinda had up earlier, one of our biggest areas of gains was party rentals. That just exploded this year.
Great.
Okay, so I sent to the council and everyone else all of the newsletters that went out. So anyone who registered as a season pass holder or anyone that just said, hey, can you send me information? We added them to our newsletter service. And I sent a summary of all of those to you just so you can track what went out and when it went out and the announcements and all that. However, just a summary of that, just for the public record, you can say, these are the things that are new in 2018. So this was this summer, what didn't happen last summer, okay? So this summer, we varied the hours of the pool by pool. So if you remember, last year, both pools were closed on Mondays, and they both had the exact same hours, 12 to 8. This year, we moved the community pool 11 to 7, kept Forest Oaks 12 to 8, closed Forest Oaks on Tuesday, and closed the community pool on Monday. So what this allowed is 7 days of operation and 11 to 7 if you really wanted to go to a pool. Okay, so we found that was basically just a creative way of same expense, but extending the hours. Okay, we created something called Saturday Night Lights. This was, how many times was it done, Daniel? 6, 5?
6 or 7, yeah.
We extended until 10 o'clock at Forest Oaks. So people could stay, and we put the big lights on over the property, and those are pretty well attended. We also created open house weekend for Memorial Day weekend. On that Saturday, anyone could go to the pools and try it for free without paying a guest pass. So if they were trying to determine do they want a season pass or not, they could go then. We also did free entry for the military, teachers, first responders on Labor Day weekend. We did free entry to the community pool on July 4th as part of the city's big push, except it rained.
Until we got
the whole
rained
day.
out at 5 o'clock.
So we were all prepared. We have a whole bunch of games planned, and then
Yeah.
it just rained. So the new menu at the pools, pizza, hamburgers, corn dogs, and the ice cream. We created the pass holder newsletter that would go out regularly. That actually proved to be helpful in other ways. So for instance, Forest Oaks, when something happened with the wall and we had to close the pool at the city's direction until we were kind of cleared to reopen. And so we were able to communicate with 150 people like that. Hey, we're closed. And then as soon as it was ready to reopen, we said, okay, we're reopened. What's interesting about that newsletter group is that we can track who's reading it and what time they read those emails. And then it offers a button for us to resend to the people who haven't opened. So if we want to send that newsletter out and that someone doesn't open it, we just hit resend to non-openers, and the system knows that they didn't open, and they get it again. Okay. We added an extra week. So this actually was incorrect in the report by the city staff. That week of August 3rd, it said that the pools closed August 13th and went weekends only.
Right.
In the middle of the summer, we were receiving feedback, hey, can we try after school or half days or something as long as we could. We added a week where we opened one of the pools from 3 to 8 from the 13th through the 20th. Okay. It was not well attended. But
because I think everybody thought it was closed. I thought it was closed for sure because I had read that it was going to be closed. Yeah, okay. Except for on weekends.
All right. So we created a desk attendant position. So this is new. One of the hot topics last year was the lifeguard going from stand to stand to check in without any break. So we pinpointed using the data. We basically wanted to see when can we add an extra person so that the lifeguards have that break. And we hired 4 people to just serve as a concession stand desk attendant. And that was effective. We actually hired 14-year-olds from the swim team,
I'll be.
and they are our next year's lifeguards. So they're only allowed to do that position for 1 year. And so they learn the ropes, they learn how to be an employee, which is important for a young employee. We teach them all those ropes. Now we'll teach them life-saving, and they'll be a lifeguard next year. We moved water aerobics from a paid program to a free program, so all pass holders got water aerobics. That was in June and July. A common request was, can we go longer with that? And also, before the season started, we sent a marketing mailer, a hard copy ad to every house in Leon Valley, at least according to the post office. So we paid the mass mailer thing, I think it was like $3,200 maybe, and we were able to communicate to every household within the Leon Valley zip codes to at least let them know, hey, we have 2 pools and here's the fees.
And when did you mail that out? I'm wondering if it should be mailed out earlier this coming.
First weekend in May.
Oh, the first week in May.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
well,
always
yeah,
about a month before
sure, okay.
And we
I
could do
received
it
it,
earlier, but we had the contract, that whole process went long into the spring last year, if I remember correctly. And so that's something that we could easily send out in March and then do another one right before the pool opens. Maybe even
Right.
do like an early bird discount.
Okay.
Okay? And that's my report.
Okay, very good. Well, I actually used the pool a lot more this year. I went to water aerobics, which I loved. I wish I could go more often, but Daniel was our instructor. Daniel, I don't know how you have a smile on your face at 8 a.m. And he's so happy, you know? And I'm just like, okay, I can get through this, you know? But anyway, he was great, and I do appreciate that, Daniel. But I know many of us were thinking, could it go into August, and could it maybe add a third day? Because we used to have it Monday through Friday. We used to have it 5 days a week, but anyway. I know attendance is an issue as well. Could we add a handrail for the baby pool? Let me tell you what. I've got a granddaughter this year, and I came many times with her this summer, and man, it's hard for me to get in that pool without anything. I mean, I'm balancing, I'm having to go on but it's not just me, it's all grandmothers,
That's right.
you know, and grandfathers.
Yeah, that's
you know,
city staff
so I just
decision,
thought
and I'm
maybe
sure you could be
anyway,
pretty easy to
this
do.
is just a, the bathrooms, I do agree, they do need to be kept better. They were, you know, anyway, needs improvement. Shutting the pool earlier, which I didn't know you had kept it from 3 to 8 or whatever. That was a miscommunication, because I thought on August 13th it was shut for 2 weeks and only opened on the weekends. So,
And let me just clarify that. That
Yes.
schedule through the 13th, the second week in August, is actually what the previous year the city bid out. So we
Okay.
kept those hours, that actual schedule of what weeks were full-time versus when we are part-time was something that the city dictated to us when we won the bid.
Oh, okay.
And so we kept that. And then as soon as we sent it out at the beginning of the year and people started saying, you know, well, my kid's not in school, we talked to our staff and said, okay, who's in band, who has band camp, who has this stuff, and we were able to find enough staff to add on that extra week.
Yeah. See, I thought it was an issue that you didn't have the lifeguards because they all went back to school. And so that's why y'all had shut it down. That was my understanding.
Right.
So,
The actual issue isn't necessarily school as in class itself. It's like swim team, band camp,
yeah,
things
football,
that are
stuff
right.
going up. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And the people that are in those positions for the most part are sophomores, juniors, seniors, maybe freshmen in college.
Okay. One thing that we had the year before, the first year, and we didn't have it this year, was a reduced fee for people who were on a fixed income. Is that something? Somebody had asked me about that this year, and I don't know if somebody else had gotten that question too. So I don't know, but just wanted to mention it. And then the other thing I couldn't believe is that you allow ice chest. I mean, so you've got the concession, but man, people were just hauling in their ice chest with, food and drink. I'm like, and I remember asking Daniel, you mean you allow that? And he said, oh yeah, sure. So, I mean, that's a real benefit. So to people that want to,
I think if we took
have a
that
party.
away,
You get people mad, okay. Well, I
mean,
just
the
was,
city puts in grills for people to cook their own food.
that's true, that's
So
true.
if
At
all the-
Forest Oaks, yeah, at Forest
Oh,
Oaks.
and at the other pool also.
And at the other pool too? I
And
see, I
people
only go
bring
to
their own
Forest Oaks,
portable
yeah.
grill,
Uh-huh,
and we have to say, no, 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 because
Yeah.
the grills that are there are approved, I guess,
okay.
to not catch all the trees on fire.
Mhm.
They're in certain spots, and we just don't want everyone grilling out inside the pool gates, you know.
But, you know, my experience at the pool this summer was great with my granddaughter, and everybody was polite and through water aerobics as well.
And so
thank you.
Daniel actually managed both the pools this summer. He was in charge of the two pool managers, so he has some comments that he
Okay,
wants to make.
great.
Yeah, it's mostly just, so I spent the better part of early August at City of San Antonio pools, just watching.
Oh, really?
And looking
Okay.
and seeing. I don't mean for this to come off or weird, but Leon Valley has it really good with the pools. San Antonio pools are free. That is their one thing, but you kind of get what you pay for with that. They can't bring in ice chest. I'm sorry, they can bring in water and fruit, and that's it. They don't have concessions. They don't have a lot of these other activities that we have in Leon Valley. So, you know, just that 2 weeks I spent watching the other pools, I got a good appreciation of what has been done here already, and then kind of what some of the extra things that we've been able to add for the people here. And so I think we've done a pretty good job,
Yeah.
you know, and there's always room to build
Sure.
extra things we can do and making things better. But overall, I think this year, as compared to last year, has been a big improvement on people's expectations and on what we've been able to do.
Very good. Yes, I would agree. Anyone else like to have a comment on the pool? Yes. First, my counsel, but I don't see anyone. And then second is Lynn Joseph. Good evening and welcome. We're so glad you're here. Okay, there you go.
Lynn Joseph, 6423 Trotter, Leon Bay. I just wanted to know can you go back to the slide that showed the pumps and pool equipment and stuff? Was there any major equipment stuff that we had done this year? Or was it just kind of a...
Oh. I know we did, not this year, but last year we did a lot of major improvements. But this year it was primarily that wall, right? But anyway, go ahead.
But she said that wasn't included in that
No,
1,100 that was up there. I was just curious what that 1,100 covered.
Oh, 11,000.
We had to bond the Forest Oaks pool, the entire pool. So that pool had been going along all these years, and it had never been electrically bonded, which meant that at any time someone could have grabbed their handrails and fried.
Oh, no.
And so the whole pool was bonded, the deck was bonded, anything metal was bonded, and then, of course, when we did the wall itself, that was also not bonded, so that also had to be bonded and grounded. And then we had some minor pool pump repairs, pool motor repairs, things like that. But the majority of that expense was bonding that pool.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. All right, anything else? Anyone else? Right, well, yes, Mr. Prophet, good evening and welcome.
Larry Prophet, 6307 Rousseau-Fee. I just want to know, in the data, can you target age groups? Like you're saying, we sent out the notice to all families in Leon Valley. But if you wait till May to do that, you're going to lose some of the attraction for lessons and swim team. So if you could target those people that you want to be back and send them at the end of February or March, then they'll...
Yeah, we could actually go through the houses that are families.
Yeah. Just so you have a bigger audience to draw from. Also, did you get, I don't understand the food permit part of this, because I didn't think we were going to have hot food this year.
Okay, yeah.
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. Okay, so we don't need a permit for that. It was all, I know it sounds like, oh, there's pizza and all that. We found all items that are microwavable.
Oh.
So none of it was cooked to order other than just heating it up. And individually packaged.
Okay.
So we looked and we searched online. We talked to other facilities that our company has a relationship with to see how do they do their hamburgers, and that's the solution that we came up with. That way we didn't have to have a grill or anything where we are worried about contamination.
But the question is, how did it taste?
Well,
Taste okay? I mean, okay, all right, I'm just, okay,
Was that your diet for the last 2 months?
okay.
So part of it, yeah, I'm a big fan of the drumsticks.
Oh, yeah, y'all had a bunch of drumsticks.
But I actually sampled a box of the cheeseburgers before I bought them, and they weren't bad.
Okay.
All right. It's not a gourmet burger.
Yeah.
It's not Whataburger, and I know that's big, but it wasn't, for I think we sold them for $3. It wasn't bad. So.
Well,
If you're hungry, you'll eat it.
yes, Counselor Edwards.
Did anyone try the vegan ice cream?
That was actually our top seller in August.
No.
So they're paletas.
Oh, yeah.
It's pieces of fruit in the fruit juice frozen. They're fantastic. I actually brought some home.
Yeah.
Because they're really good.
They were good. Okay.
They are. Very good suggestion, and I'm glad we went and found those.
Right, and not only did y'all allow ice chests, you allowed people to bring in fast food.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, I don't know, I was just
We had pizza
bedazzled
deliveries at
about
the
that.
pool
I thought,
sometime.
gosh.
People wouldn't want to get
Yeah.
the frozen pizzas that we have, so they get Domino's.
Yeah,
Jimmy John's
exactly.
delivers. So.
Okay. Very
And
good.
we actually did better on concessions this year than we did last year. So, I
So-
think giving options,
Yeah.
it's good.
Well, thank y'all very much, and we look forward to coming back together in the spring. I guess that's when we will relook at, everything. But thank you so much. It was a very thorough presentation. All right, great. And thank you. Safe travels back to Louisiana. All right, take care. All right, moving on to agenda item number 3, our city manager's report. Ms. Kinsler, good evening and welcome.
Gone.
She's right outside the door, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to give you the city manager's report, but part of the city manager's report, I want to talk to you about the large pickup item because there's been a lot of buzz about that on social media. And so wanted to be able to discuss that with you and hopefully address some questions and concerns that there may be out there. But some housekeeping items as well. If you noticed in the city manager's report that came out on Thursday or Friday, there are a lot of activities in Leon Valley on October the 27th. There's the Trash and Treasure, there's the pet parade, the library events, the tree giveaway. And so Mayor Riley sent me an email asking about if I thought we should change the coffee to the 20th instead of the 27th, instead of having so many things going on at the same time. So I said that I would bring it up at the council and just get consensus from you all as to what you'd like to do.
Okay, so it was just as I was going through your manager's report, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't
There's a
realize
lot.
that everything was there. And I think we wanted to do something with the EDCD committee after the coffee. I think we talked about that. So I wasn't sure. So what
I'd
do
be
y'all
in
think?
favor of moving it to the 20th.
Is
a
everyone
different day.
available on the 20th?
Yes.
I know I am.
In favor of moving it.
You're in favor of moving it, and
I think keeping it on the 27th would be beneficial to the senior trash and treasure. People are there, make an announcement, hey, walk across the parking lot to the trash and treasure.
yeah, I just thought there was just so much going on, because we can always get people to the trash and treasure because we've already got Arbor Day, we've got the library, we've got the
Pet
tree
parade.
giveaway. We've already got people there, so they're going to get to the trash and I just didn't feel like we'd get a very good turnout with the coffee because people are wanting to get their free tree and go to the, so we want them to concentrate on some of the issues that we'd like to present and then hear their concerns. But that's my 2 cents. What do y'all think?
I'm okay with me.
Okay. Just as long as
20th.
everybody can
The
be
20th
here on
seems
the
better.
20th. I don't want to move it if somebody can't be there. And then I have I make a change in the Pavona newsletter because I wasn't sure. So instead of the 27th, we'd move it to the 20th if you could make that announcement. Thank you, Liz. I do appreciate it. All right, thank you. Okay, so we'll move it to the 20th and we'll make that change. Okay, from 9 to 11. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll get that changed.
Okay.
And then also, I'd like to get the consensus one more time of the council as to whether or not you want to put your emails, are you ready to put your emails back on the website? Okay, so she's put them back under your picture, but they're not on the directory. So it's a little harder to get to you, but they're still on there. Do you want to leave it like that? Do you want to go back to where they can one click and you're there? I mean, how would you like to do that?
Personally, I want them on the directory. And my view is, if we fall to the First Amendment auditors and we bow down to them, they win. And, you know, we're all public servants here, and people need to be able to get to us. And I'm not going to cower to any First Amendment person.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Jordan.
I understand why our emails were taken off due to the mass barrage of individuals that really didn't have the best interests of the city in mind and potentially crashing the website. I think enough time has transpired and things have calmed down enough to where we could probably put it back on the main directory.
Okay, so we'll put him back on the main directory. I do want to just warn you, Mr. Lidoff, I think you got the email today. He got a spoof email from Joe Salvaggio, so they're getting into, you know, our city email addresses and sending out those spoof emails. So they may do that to you. Just be prepared. But he got one from the chief today asking for money. So I don't think Chief Salvaggio needed money from Mr. Lidoff.
No.
So, okay.
So you only mean the city emails, not the personal?
Oh, no.
right?
Just the city emails, that's correct. Okay,
Okay.
so we'll reinstate everything right back like it was then.
You know, you don't have to spoof the city emails to send out a false email.
Exactly.
You can just, if you know the proper format, you can be anywhere in the world and send an email, and it looks like it's coming from like your
Exactly.
email.
Yeah. We've just noticed, an influx of them since all this started. You know.
Yeah.
So wanted to let you know that just a little while ago, we got notice that the ambulance services uncompensated care cost settlement that we're going to get, and it's called a settlement amount. It's in the amount of $33,830.99, and I think we projected $40,000 on that one. But we should receive that check by October 1st. Although we don't think it's going to change, if it does change, it should be to the good. I mean, they're not going to take anything back. And I think that's why they're calling it a settlement amount instead of a final award, is there's still a little bit of room in there. So we may get one more payment. But for sure, we know we got $33,830.99.
That's what we approved last meeting, right? We
Um,
approved the
yes.
budget adjustment to receive that money.
Adjustment. But this one says it's a settlement amount, so it does not say it's a final award. We just got that notice today.
Okay.
Sales taxes, Ashley reported, were up 5.53% in our September report, which would have reflected 2 months prior. The City of Leon Valley received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting by the Government Finance Officers Association, again, for its annual CAFR.
Congratulations.
So congratulations to us, and specifically Ashley and Vicki. Councillor Alcacer wanted to add the Tobacco 21 topic to discussions at the October coffee, and I'd just like a consensus that you all are okay with this being placed on the item. We said we'd address it in the future.
I'm fine with that.
That's fine.
You good? Okay.
Okay.
So now you have 3 items.
So we have the
on your
animal
copy.
control,
Mhm.
we have tobacco 21, and
Animal control, tobacco 21, and
well, I know citizens to be heard for sure, but I think we had another one too.
I'll look it up in just
Okay.
a second. It's
Yeah.
sitting on my desk.
Okay.
Animal control. What was it? If not, it's right on my desk, and I'll run and get it.
Okay. Yeah.
If you'll look in the meantime, Sandra. So I also received notice from Bear County today that Leon Valley has been preliminarily awarded another CDBG grant for
Really?
the blacksmith and water spoke water and sewer main replacements in the amount of $302,632. Great news. Go team.
Oh, yeah,
But
because
that's
we're
half of the project that's needed for CDBG. And so we will have to, Melinda's going to start poking around and see what she can do to come up with the other $302,000, because the total project is $605,000. But CDBG grants,
So is it with the idea that that's our only area that we qualify for, so we're just going to keep taking a chunk?
There you go.
All the way around, okay. So it's going to take a while, because you only get one CDBG grant a year, right? Okay.
So I don't necessarily want to go over these streets because I'm going to do a large item pickup, but if you'd like me to, I can. We just got a report from Tiger letting us know what streets had been picked up thus far. So if you want to know, I have that list that's fresh from today. Culinary Flavors of Leon Valley was held September 5th from 9 to 10 in the Leon Valley Library parking lot. Grandparents' Day was held September 9th. And after that was the commemoration for 9/11 by the VFW at the Conference Center, American Legion, I'm sorry, thank you. And Councilor Martinez read the proclamation for us that day. And Councilor Jordan and Mayor Riley attended Grandparents' Day. Last day to register to vote on the November 6, 2018 special election is October the 9th. City offices were closed in observance of Labor Day. Fall cleanup week is the 10th through the 16th, and September 23rd through the 29th is Banned Book Week, and the library is going to be celebrating our freedom to read materials, so each individual will choose what they want to read that week. Committee meetings upcoming, we had a zoning meeting on September 11th at 6:30. There's another zoning meeting that will be held September 25th at 6:30 right here at City Hall. Board of Adjustments met September 13th. 5 o'clock right here, and they had their training as well. The Park Commission met that same day at 6:30, and the Tree Advisory Board will meet on September 24th at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Public Works Department. The final part of the City Manager's report, I just wanted to give you an update, and I hope Melinda's still here. We're great, because there might need to be some fill-in-the-blanks here. They've been the one working with Tiger. But I've noticed there's been not a lot, but complaints on social media about the large item pickup. And I have Melinda and Yvonne both here so that if anybody's interested in what the process was before, Waste Management, if they were oversized, would report them to codes enforcement, and then we would handle it internally. Tiger's taken a different approach, and before they even start the fall cleanup, they're being proactive, and they're going and letting people know, they're tagging people and saying it's oversized. They've taken pictures and sent us the measurements of the piles that they're not picking up. So if residents go over by actually several cubic yards, they're still picking it up. It's the grossly oversized piles that they're not picking up. And so this is the postcard that was sent to residents, it was mailed to residents, letting them know that collection would begin September 17th. Tiger was actually out on the streets the week prior with the little tags, letting people know that their piles were too large. Right. So that is the difference, is that we were reactive in the past, and this year was the first time, so nobody's used to that, the proactive. There's a picture of what 8 cubic yards looks like. This is how many so far in 18, the oversized piles that we've had. And you can see they've gone from, 16 to 50 something? 55. So anything between 8 and 16, they've just picked up. Okay. There's what 20 cubic yards looks like, 30. And I actually got a call from this resident, very irate that that pile had been tagged. There's the 40. There's a 50.
That's a lot.
The postcard that was sent in 2017, same thing. What's the one difference, Melinda?
I put the 2 in here. The first one you see is missing that one sentence, all commercial tree trimmers are required to haul away the trimmings. So this year, that sentence was taken off of that postcard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you don't see it up there at the top? And so last year's postcard had it. And then if you can flip to the next one.
And this was, the 17 was when we were under the waste management contract, is
That's
what you're trying to
correct.
compare. Okay.
And so then there's your oversized piles from September 2017 that we dealt with on the codes end.
Just 22.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so we strongly believe that tree trimmers, that they should be registering with us anyway, but we need an ordinance, and we need to attach the ordinance to when they get a permit that says, if you have a professional tree trimmer, your tree trimmer needs to haul off your stuff.
Okay.
Now, I wanted to also tell you that I had a long discussion with Tiger and the business formula, and it actually applies, it turns out, as I'm talking to other city managers, to other waste disposal companies. But when they're doing the large item pickup and they're saying, 8 cubic yards per house, they're only counting, they have a formula that they use that they count on every so many houses doing it. And so for $17 a month, you technically get your garbage and your recycling every week plus the piles.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because I posed the question that you specifically, Mayor and Councilor Alcacer had, well, what if a few houses don't do it?
Mm-hmm.
Could we just take the 50 cubic yard one and count it for 8 houses or whatever? And so that's the way we've handled it in the past, is we were not proactive, and it went straight to codes. This year, we've tried to notify them so that hopefully they can squish it down more, or, take half of it to the neighbor's house, or whatever it is they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the difference that you're seeing. So some possible solutions. There's the first one I just talked about, requiring commercial tree trimming companies to remove their waste. That is not an unreasonable. In fact, it's a pretty normal requirement. Pay for an oversized brush-only pickup day in the fall of each year, and offer tree trimmers to bring piles to city chipper in the park and city chips for the tree mulching for the park. It's another idea. Recommendations that Public Works came up with was to offer tree trimmers to bring their piles to locations in Raymond, Rimkus, or other parks, and city chips for parks tree mulching. But it appears that the other complaint that I, for some reason, has also resurfaced is the 2-time-a-week thing again. And so just to make sure everybody's minds are refreshed, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but everybody that submitted a bid submitted for 1 time per week. You all chose Tiger, and they were the cheapest of all of the vendors. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to make sure that that's reiterated, because that's information that's rolling around there right now does not say that.
All right.
So
Can I ask a question? What is the charge? What are we charging the oversized?
$10 per cubic yard.
Okay, so let's take an example.
Mm-hmm.
So say it's a 50 yard, and so are they getting charged from 10 to 50? So 40 times 10
$400.
is $400. Okay, all right. Okay, just wanted to know. Yes, sir.
If I remember correct, in the bidding process, I think, if I remember, didn't Waste Management give a bid for 2 times pickup, but it was a lot more. It was like $18 for one, and like 25 or 26 for 2 times a week.
It was more. You're for I thought you said 2 times a year.
2 times a
yeah, 2 times a week they gave. I don't remember that. I remember the scale, us just looking at all the ones, comparing them. But they may have.
There was a 2 in there, but it was considerably more.
Yeah.
Like, if I remember, like $4 or $5 or $6 more.
In the $20 something dollar range. Yeah. So for the 1 time a week pickup is what we compared. We got a table and we put everything side by side. Tiger was the cheapest.
Right.
And we also had a town hall meeting and lots of resident discussion and clickers and voting on what your city, on what your citizens wanted to do, and overwhelmingly they wanted to do the recycling in 1 time a week. Mm-hmm. So you did that. You vetted it before we even sent out the RFPs.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yes, Councilor Jordan.
I was just trying to remember, is the bulk pickup once a year or twice a year?
Twice a year.
Twice a year.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Counselor Alcacer, did you have something that you wanted to add to this discussion as well?
Yes, we were talking about, and I think it's a good time to be a little more proactive ourselves on next door, and sometimes that needs to be reiterated because the people who are talking about going back to 2 pickups and things like that in waste management still don't seem to understand that even if we had stayed with waste management, it would have been more no matter what we did. And somehow that point isn't being getting across to the people. And I'd like to see us, unfortunately, I think for a while.
I can just go get the old ones that I posted and post them again, because that's been posted, but I can just copy them and post them again.
Right,
That's not hard.
Right.
That's easy.
I think the timing, but with the added reminder that it wouldn't have made a difference who was the person chosen.
Right.
It was still got to go to one and one.
Still be paying more.
Still be more.
Exactly. Okay.
Right,
Yes,
yes.
sir.
Councilor Edwards.
Do tree trimmers, do they have to register with the city or?
Mayor, Councilor Edwards, yes, they are supposed to register with the city. Do they always register with the city, and do we catch them? No. Not
Yeah.
always. But yes, sir, they are supposed to.
It's like last year, I was on the list too much,
Oh,
on the stacked by the curb. But the tree trimmer said, "Oh well, the city will pick it all up and see." So if the trimmers are told you need to take what you trim,
I hear an ordinance in the making. Do you?
maybe let's put it before the coffee. But I mean, like you're saying, that would be nice if they would adhere.
Require them to do it. They're required to do it in other places.
Yeah.
So.
Because sometimes they're not real clear with the homeowners what's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excuse me, Kelly, on that, what the city was proposing, I'm not sure we should allow the professional people to do it, but it would be nice if the people cutting their own yards, which are many, could bring it to the chipper. I had even asked Melinda at one point, can we borrow your chipper? Nope, it's the city's. You can. I said, we'll rent it from you.
Just take it there, let them do it.
Bringing it to the park would be really good, and that will help some of this, I think.
If they have a truck.
So Councilor Alcacer, I'll give you a cookie if you can guess what the third item on the coffee was. You should know it.
Should it be tea? I should know it.
You should, because it was your item.
We should both know it, and
It's the lot at Peachtree and Poss.
Oh,
Get
that's
further
right,
input on
that's
that.
right, the
But
pavilion,
I didn't
yeah.
ask that to be put on. I said, why was it on there?
Oh, I thought you said you wanted more input on it from citizens.
No, they were getting the input from the park.
Okay, from the park
Right.
committee. So it was you that
Yeah.
asked it to be put on. Okay. Well,
I
then,
didn't
Mayor,
know.
you're not going to get a cookie.
No, I'm not going to get a cookie because I didn't remember. Well, just so
I'll
you
stand
know.
for any other
Okay,
questions.
very good. Any other
And
questions?
we have Melinda and Yvonne here as well, if you have any questions about large items, because I know that's a big deal right now. And they are the ones who put this presentation together, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Anything else? Any questions from our residents for the city manager this evening on her presentation? Okay, very good. Thank you, Ms. Kinsler. Do appreciate that. So moving to agenda item number 4, citizens to be heard. Anyone in our chambers that would like to address the council, please come forward. And you just need to state your name and where you live. Okay, very good. Thank you. And good evening, Ms. Joseph, and welcome back.
Hello, Mayor,
Yes.
council members. I just wanted to compliment y'all on the bridge on Evers.
Oh, finally we got
It's
it open.
beautifully done.
Still not done. That's what Melinda would tell you.
Well, I know the ground
Yeah.
part is not done, but the bridge itself is very pretty.
Right. And it will be dedicated on Sunday, November the 11th on Veterans Day. So we invite you all to come, and we'll have more information later.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Thanks.
very good. Thank you. Yes. Ms. Malloy from Pavona Place, how are you? Good to see you. Yes.
Yes, I'm glad to see you
Mhm.
this evening. I'm trying to head off the problem that we had about 6 or 7 years ago. Is this listening to me? Not yet.
Not yet. There we go.
Okay, thank you. When we had the the Department of Safety decide to build a building and all that we went through with getting hearings and blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to head that off I've contacted some of the folks, including the mayor on council, to know what's coming down the pike at us here. Is the Baptist church on the corner of Hebner and Evers that wants to build a new church. They are in a B3 zone. B3, for those of you who are not familiar with zoning, is a very, very, very intensive use, and it's surrounded by residential. It would be actually comes, except for that little stone house, it actually would be what's called spot zoning. And spot zoning is something that the Supreme Court has taken up. It's not the way you want to go. You don't take very restricted property, which is your residential, and plop into the middle of it very intense commercial things going on. They're stuck, and I'm actually going to ask Crystal if she could copy this for whoever wants it. I had to go back and actually had to go to the archives and had Misty at the San Antonio Express News do some search in the archives for us concerning educating y'all on what the history of why we have churches that are only zoned into B3 in the city of Leon Valley. And I had remembered an article that was done in 1996 by the Express News that addressed that, because that was at the time that the U.S. Supreme Court was beginning to be very tough because they were getting all these complaints about churches and churches not being allowed to go here, there, and thither. It was very, very churchy time as far as litigations were going on. Leon Valley was in the position that we allowed all zones to have churches, but all zones, even though they could have churches, they had to have an SUP. Well, that in itself, we were treating churches different than we were treating anything else. Nothing else in zoning had to require an SUP no matter what zone that they went into. So churches were just coming to Leon Valley. They couldn't get here fast enough because they would do their SUP and they were building all over. Well, y'all know that from a tax benefit, churches are wonderful, but they don't help the bottom line. So what the city decided to do, as near as I can figure, I think it was around 2001 or so, that the change was made to limit churches only to B3. Because we were covered over, I'll tell you the thought behind it, we were covered over with churches all over the place, and we did have one zone that we could put them in by right. So that took care of not the SUP, didn't need that, it was by right, so we solved at that point the cases that we were potentially going to be in trouble with the court system. And things went along fine until now. The situation we're at is that the churches that were put on the land over time now want to do changes. They want to expand. They want to grow. They want to do, they've gotten better. Well, as you know, when you're doing with zoning, as soon as you make a change, you can't do that change. In other words, that raises all the red flags. No, you might have been in R1 when you built it, but now you have the B3 restrictions, so you have to make the land become B3 to accommodate the restrictions. Well, you don't want the B3, which is very intense zoning, to be in the places where we have the churches. So that's the problem that's coming down the pipeline to the city council. And it's being done and instigated by the Baptist Church. That's done very well as far as getting their members to increase. They've done what churches do. They want to grow. But now there they sit in a B3 zone. If they're on R1, but to build their church, they would have to be B3, would have to be the zoning change made to that piece of land. That means as soon as it's rezoned to B3, anything that's B3 can go on that land. There's no law anywhere whatsoever that says you are required, once you've rezoned, that you then have to use that zone, or it restricts you to a church. So you have to, in zoning, look at what can be the very worst thing in a zoning category that might go on this land if it is zoned to this zoning classification. So I'm asking, if you remember when we had the Department of Public Safety, which finally, I think Melinda, I think our city manager, we finally, I think, there might be one more kind of checkout, but I think that we're 100% now with the DPS, with the light, with everything working. So it's taken us this long. It should have been more than 30 days before we had the problem of the church. I think that would have been much more fair than it was. So that's coming at us. I don't want to have the situation where it goes to planning and zoning, and then planning and zoning has to reschedule because they have to notify a larger group of people. So I'm asking at this time for you to be aware of what's happening. The first meeting with planning and zoning should go to the expanded circle of people that would be impacted, which would be actually all of Pavona, because to get away from going to that land, to get away from the light, you cross catty corner, the hypothesis that's within the Pavona place. So we would be asking at that point, before going to planning and zoning, that their notification go to all of Pavona Place, to the Linkwood, which is also now questioning what's going on. They're going to be impacted. Of course, the Haas land and her sister is the other side of that, and then you have the other side of Hebner Road. So I don't know what the procedure is to get ahead of this, so we're not having to repeat things and redo. But that's what I'm here to alert you to, that this is what's coming at us.
Okay, very good. I think we have to put it on the council agenda and actually vote on that expanded, don't we?
Mayor, I thought that, yeah, Brandon, would you come up, please?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Right. And this is Brandon Milan. He's our new community development director. Yeah. Okay. Good evening. How are you? Good to see you. You bet. Yes.
The plan currently is to look at some potential actual code amendments to change the various districts that churches and other institutions are allowed in. This, as Mr. Malloy pointed out, any code changes, due to the Religious Land Use and Institution Act, we have to make sure that we follow those guidelines. Those are federal guidelines, and so they very much set out, how the different code amendments that we can make and the different ways that we can apply zoning requirements to churches and different institutions. So the plan currently is to potentially amend the code to allow for churches by right in certain zoning districts, and also come up with very clear development standards for how churches and other institutions may be developed, including libraries, including museums. And so that we've sent out notice public notice to the newspaper. So presently there aren't any plans to actually change the zoning on that property, but rather change the zoning code so that that property can potentially expand without actually having to change any kind of zoning classification. So the property, and without getting into too much detail, the property is zoned R1, combination of R1 and B2. So we're looking at modifying the zoning code to allow for that expansion without needing a zone change, as Mrs. Malloy was mentioning, a potential zone change to B3, which would not be in conformance with our future land use plan.
Okay.
So we're looking at an alternative solution that doesn't require an actual zone change, but just changing the zoning code to allow for churches and other institutions as the property is currently zoned.
But B2 is also too intense. That would satisfy what the concerns are of Pavona and of Linkwood. So we got to work it out, but I don't want all of a sudden we have planning and zoning going on something that people don't know about, then they hear about it, then we have to go back, by then we rile people up. So since it's coming down the pipeline, we're having to deal with it. It would be much better if we could do it in an orderly way, and so
just notify everybody.
Satisfy everybody. Because the primary thing with zoning, you have to realize that you have to look at the worst or the most intense use in a zoning district and consider that's what's going on there. Not what they're telling you of, oh no, this is what I'm going to do. Because that's where a couple of times we've already stopped some of that being done to try to sell the property on Hebner Road next to the Mormon church, of presenting this, and actually they had a buyer that, if it could be rezoned to a more intense use, wanted to buy the property. So some of you, but you also, several of you are very new to the zoning kind of things as far as council, so trying to get it.
Okay, very good.
There, right?
Thank you. Councilor Jordan, can he add something to that? On citizen. Yeah.
Well,
That's
you
right,
mentioned
we
the
can.
expansion of the church. I was just going to ask a question. Is the existing building, or are they allowed to build within their property at that location?
Yeah.
You're getting into a discussion at this point.
Okay,
I
we
think.
can't Okay. So,
I'll talk to you
okay, yeah,
offline.
we'll just do it that way. 'Cause
Absolutely,
we, yeah.
offline is fine.
But I guess what I'm hearing Ms. Malloy say, whatever comes down the pike with regard to the Baptist Church, she's requesting that we as a council expand the notification.
Exactly.
Okay, so,
If there's an actual zone
yeah,
change
mhm.
to change the classification of the property, then that would be when the expanded notification would be applicable. But in this case, as I was mentioning, there's an alternative potential to amend the zoning code, which wouldn't be changing the classification of that property. That would just be changing the code. And in a case like that, when you're just amending your code, the only notification that's required is a public notice that goes in the newspaper. So with an alternative course to amend the code, then an expansion of a notification to an area wouldn't be necessary or applicable.
But you'd be changing the code for that land. You'd be changing the classification for that land. So it does have to. I'm trying to, do this. We had a real
You just wanted to be open and transparent on what we're doing. And so I'm hearing you say that the newspaper's not going to do it. You want it still to come to the residents, so, okay.
So that's
Is that
my concern. It's like we need to
something
let
that we
people
can
know
so
in
note?
advance. Otherwise, we're just going to have another mess, and we're just at the end of cleaning up the first one.
First one, yeah.
Okay. So we'll take it up as it comes down the pike. But thank you for bringing that to our attention, Ms. Malloy. Do appreciate it. All right. Thank you. Yes.
Mayor, if there's not, Sandy and I would like to show you something that citizens have done. I had it on my note at the end of my city managers, and I forgot.
Okay. Good evening, Sandy. How are you? And thank you for finding my little granddaughter's toy. And I'll come by. No, not yet. That's okay. But I appreciate you finding it for me.
We're here for show and tell.
Okay. Show and tell. I love show and tell.
Councilor Martinez stopped by the library and happened upon what we've been doing lately and said maybe you should bring it to council and show it off. Last year,
cool.
our Friends of the Library group bought the library a 3D printer. We do events, makerspace, where the kids, well, anybody can get their hands on and learn how to 3D design and print. And we're trying to encourage people to do more because it's happening, but not enough. People express interest. We'd really like to see you in and show you the kind of things we're doing.
It's really inexpensive, and it's really cool. The spooling is really inexpensive.
Right. It's filament, and it melts down. Very inexpensive. Residents of Leon Valley, come on out. We'll do little things. We can do, we do have some things planned, but we welcome you to come in. We have Chromebooks. You can sit down with them. You can use Tinkercad, the programs we do. There are 6 tutorials to teach you how to design, manipulate, join things together. This is just this was an oversized, trying to figure out sizing on it. A reed, it's a keychain.
This is a business card holder that says Leon Valley Public Library on it.
How about that?
We've done a bunch of articulated, movable. This is a dinosaur, so he wiggles.
And this is all from a printer?
It's a 3D printer. Yeah, it's the same one that can do a gun.
Stand for your
Right.
iPad that looks
Yeah.
like this.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. And can you come anytime, Sandy, or is it just during a particular time?
Anytime. The thing is,
Okay.
we're happy to print these. This don't cost a lot. The bigger things do. I've had somebody come and say, I want to print this something. It might take a whole spool of filament. If it's $22 and they're like, oh, I don't have to buy a printer. That's wonderful. But little things. Well, it was printed separately and we had to glue them together. It wasn't printed together.
Yeah.
Each rib was separate.
Wow, that is so neat.
This was separate. Each
Uh-huh.
rib, each section, and then they
Oh
all
my
went
gosh.
together. That's the biggest thing we've done. That's a lot of detail.
Uh-huh.
This is not even a whole spool, is it?
No, I think it was just under. That's the biggest we've done. Humming. This is an articulated butterfly, so it moves. It was painted. It didn't come out this way.
Bring your kids to the library and make these.
But kids, adults, anybody can do these.
That is so
This
neat.
is my favorite. This little robot. They made him a sign, take me to your reader.
That's beautiful.
I've got one.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Touch it.
Yeah.
Move.
Yeah, that's neat.
We have a few
Drum
different
move.
colors.
Yeah.
These are painted. You can paint them also. We've made
The little dinosaur she
TARDIS,
had.
for those of you who know Doctor Who. This is an iPad stand.
Oh, that's cute.
2 days to go in it, but this is, we've had so many dentists and hygienists. This is an iPad or an iPhone stand. We have another one that's very kid-friendly. It's a dinosaur. That's their iPad like that. But we have the Chromebooks at the library. Come in anytime. We'll get you on Tinkercad, let you just play. You can play at home on your own computer, tinkercad.com. Do the tutorials. Come in. Our next event we do have coming up on Friday, October 12th. Everybody is welcome. We're doing all day from the moment we open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have these little templates for a bookmark, a pumpkin bookmark, because it's Halloween coming. And we will have this ready, and then you can go in and you can play with the program and you can personalize it. You can put your name. We put LVPL for Leon Valley Public Library, and we'll be printing them out. They take maybe 15 minutes, depending how many people we have at once. If you don't want to wait around, we may have to have you come back and get them. But this is coming up, and then also November 19th, we're having a big maker space, and we'll have everything out. But you're welcome anytime. I don't want the printer to sit there. I don't want the Chromebooks. It's for you guys, and we really welcome you coming in and trying it out. So.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Sandy, where is that located? Where is that located at the library? The printer? Where is it located?
Stand at the desk. It's smack in front of you.
The front desk?
Really notice
I was going to say, I don't.
It's like a microwave almost. You don't notice it unless it's going because it makes a little musical sound. But it's right there.
I was just there on Sunday and I didn't notice it.
It's the generous donation that we have.
I didn't notice it. Yeah.
Come by.
Thank you, Sandy. Really appreciate it. You've been so creative, and I know you've gotten a lot more people connected to the library through your creative programming. So thank you. All right. Anyone else for the citizens to be heard and show and tell? Okay. All right. Let's move to the announcements by the mayor and the city council members. Let's start over here. Councilor Jordan, what would you like to say this evening?
Glad to be here.
Yes. Good. We're glad you're here.
Attended Grandparents' Day. Nice celebration with the mariachi band and the folklorica dancers and the grandparents. So it was a nice event. So thank you.
You're welcome. Councilor Martinez.
I've got two items. Number one, it was announced that the American Legion 9/11 event that their honor guard won second place nationwide in the honor guard competition. Also, they are requesting they would like to be part of the bridge dedication ceremony on November 11th. And tomorrow there's going to be a fun educational event. I announced a couple weeks ago that the Leon Valley Area Chamber of Commerce is no longer. It's changed it, well, it's still there. It's changed its name to the Northwest San Antonio Chamber. And tomorrow at 11:30, they're going to meet at the Marriott on 151. CPS is going to be the speaker, and they're going to talk about, I guess, their flexible plan and future plans for San Antonio energy. So that'll be a very, very interesting talk. It starts at 11:30, like I said. If you're not a member, it's $20 for the luncheon, but it should be a very informative event tomorrow. And then on October 26th, I think, they're going to have a gala at the same Marriott Hotel. And it's going to be their casino night, and they're going to have a band playing, and it's going to steak dinner. I put a couple flyers out in the foyer there if anybody would like to go to that. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And Councilor Jordan is saying, I need some more time, Mayor. I forgot.
I need a redo. I'm sorry.
You need a redo. Okay.
I forgot to announce October 18th at the community center. We'll be having our joint city-sponsored job fair, third annual this year, from 9 to 12 p.m. or 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Yes, Northside Independent School District, City of Leon Valley, Texas Workforce Commission, and Department of Rehabilitative Services will be holding a job fair. And up to this point, we've hired about 75 people. So it's a great event. If you get the opportunity to come out, we welcome you.
You said October 17th?
October 18th from
18th.
9 a.m. to 12 at the Leon Valley Community Center.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I think this is your third year
Yes, ma'am.
to host this. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Counselor.
Okay, we'll try to attend everything, be kind to one another, and please smile.
Okay, we'll do that. Counselor Rodriguez.
Just want to thank everybody for coming out. I love my city, love my people. Thank you to all the employees, because I know a lot of times they don't get recognized, so I want to make sure that I do that. Thank you to Maribel for inviting my dancers for the Grandparents' Day. Good time. And then I also attended the event for 9/11 with Mr. Martinez. I was very honored. It's kind of a moving thing to know my father served in the military. I'm still fortunate to have him at almost 92, so it was a big honor to be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Edwards.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight, and appreciate the good turnout.
Yeah.
That's great.
Very good. Thank you. Just a few things. October 6th is the last day to register to vote. That's important, too. National Night Out is October
9th is the last day to register.
Oh, it's the 9th? It's not this. Oh, I always thought it was 30 days before. But it's the 9th. Okay. Okay, good. Because I know the election is November 6th, right? So I was.
4 plus 6
Okay.
is the 30.
Okay, so November 9th. Okay, very good. And do we have voter registration cards out there? Okay, excellent. Thank you. And then National Night Out is October the 2nd. So contact the police department. I hope we have a lot of neighborhood parties, and the counselors will be able to attend this year on the actual day. And then Forest Oaks neighborhood is having a neighborhood watch on Thursday, October the 11th at 6:30 at the library. They wanted to have it there because it's closer to our proximity. We've had some neighborhood thefts, and of course we had that shooting this past week, and so we're trying to come together and educate on what we can do to be safe and be more proactive in our neighborhood. So please come out, even if you're not from Forest Oaks. But anyway, I just wanted to announce that.
What day was
All
that,
right.
ma'am? I'm sorry.
It's we're going to be at TML Thursday, October the 11th at 6:30. But I helped set it up, but it didn't matter just as long as we get out the information on neighborhood. You'll be here 6:30 at the library, and they wanted it at the library. And I know Sandy said, "Well, you have to be done by 8." So I gave them that choice, and so that's okay. I think they can have a productive meeting. So thank you for that. Okay, then moving on to the consent agenda, items number 6.1 and 2. Is any of the counselors want to pull any of those items for discussion? And if not, may I have a motion to approve?
I have one question.
Yes.
There's only 4 people for the sign. Are we looking for more people in that?
We are. I sent out 2 emails to Heather is here tonight, and Kim Crawford, who both wanted to serve. So we're checking their applications, and if anyone else, and I believe Ruth Ramos, you've asked her. So those are pending. So yes, and Heather. And oh yeah, I think we got yours already. So these are, yes, so thank you for your volunteer service. Yes, ma'am.
Should I email that back or just, where do I bring it back?
You can email it to Sandra. That would be great. Okay. So I think if you know of anybody else, I think it's 9 positions, is that correct? So we still have some more room, even with the additionals. We had 4 plus 3. Yeah, so that's 7, so we have 2 more. So that would be good. Okay. So.
Then I'll make a motion, we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilor Martinez and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to approve the consent agenda items number 6.1 and 2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Moving then to the ordinance section of our agenda. 7.1 through 6 were presented at the last City Council meeting, September 4th, and this is our second reading. And I'll have Ms. Pasolay to please begin by reading ordinance number 7.1.
Mayor and Council, before I read that
Yes.
caption, could I clarify on the previous motion, the resolution, it's the 4 that I have received the applications, the 3 that are pending are not being appointed tonight. Is that
No,
correct?
they are not being appointed tonight.
Thank you.
But they're pending, but, right. I
Okay.
think you just wanted to know who was pending and if we had some more slots. Correct.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. So, moving then to our 7.1, if you'll please read the ordinance.
Yes, ma'am. An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, City Council amending Appendix A, Schedule of Fees, portions of Articles A 8.000 and 8.11.000 to increase the bulk water fee, revised language regarding effective water and sewer rate commencement dates, adjusting rate tiers, increasing the commercial water and sewer volumetric rate, implementing an irrigation rate table, removing the permit fee for discharging into a sewer, and providing for a repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Good evening again, Ms. Moritz. Do you have any additions or corrections to what you presented last time?
We don't have any additions or corrections, but the council did, did ask us to come back with some information, and
Yes.
so Nalisa Hedden is here
Great.
to give you that information.
Wonderful. Let's do that then. Thank you. Good evening and welcome. We're
Good
glad to
evening,
see you
Mayor.
again.
It's a pleasure to be
Yeah.
here again. I appreciate your time. What I thought I'd do real quickly is give a quick synopsis. I know we were here last time, but I think there are some people both in the audience and in council this morning or this evening who weren't here. So I just want to give a quick synopsis of where we are and what is the driving force behind these recommendations from your staff. In 2014, I had the pleasure of working with the city and performing a cost of service and rate design study for your water utility. As an outcome of that study, we came up with a multi-year plan to implement changes to your water and sewer rates. The primary driving force of that plan was the need to rehabilitate your wells, and you had to have some significant capital improvements and issue debt for that. So we had to figure out a way to fund that. That multi-year plan went into place, and as you issued your debt, and the biggest chunk of that increase took place last year sometime, there was some feedback from the public and a desire to go ahead and look at it from a policy perspective and just check and make sure recommendations make sense still. So we went in, performed an update to the analysis. We updated it with your current budget and with most recent customer usage data and customer count data, et cetera, so we could take a fresh look. In doing that, we looked at some policy considerations of the city. The specific feedback was really related to the commercial rates. There were some concerns voiced that commercial customers didn't bear as high of an increase in their rates as residential. So we looked at that and looked at some tweaks. So the outcome of those rates we'll go through in a moment. Last time we met, last council meeting, there was a desire to have us to look at TML, provide you a comparison of the TML survey that they do on water and sewer rates, as well as look at what SAWS charges. So I'm bringing these back to you for comparative purposes. That being said, the recommendation at this point for your water utility is to go from your current base fee of $11.48 for a 5/8 inch meter and to $11.76 in 2019. Most of your meters are actually in that 3/4 inch range there. Residential meters are usually either a 5/8 inch or a 3/4 inch. So that's where the bulk of your citizens are going to see their rate increase. I do want to point out these recommendations are identical to your current ordinance. Your current ordinance already has an increase scheduled for this year for FY 2019. This is just a tweak, but the analysis reveals that really these are appropriate base fees for going forward. I apologize there. For the volumetric charge, we'll start off with the residential rates going from $3.37 all the way up to $9.37 per 1,000 gallons. based upon the usage. This is essentially the same structure as kind of taxes. So your first 3,000 gallons, you pay that lower tier rate. The next 3,000 gallons, you pay the next tier, so on and so forth. So it's not your total consumption. It goes through each of the tiers. For comparative purposes and for your information, the bulk of your citizens use your average use spread over a 12-month period for your average residential customer in the city of Leon Valley is 6,000 gallons. So that gives you a little bit of gauge of what normal is. That is looking at a 12-month average. When we look at winter months, we find it's lower than that when people are not irrigating in the 4,000 gallon range. So just to give you some benchmarking there of how and who. You'll see that rate structure go from 337 to 937 up to 356 to 956. This is the same structure that's already in your ordinance for residential customers. The two changes, however, are first starting with your commercial customers. You'll see the current rate of $2.42. Your ordinance had it scheduled to go from $2.42 to $2.50 per 1,000 gallons in 2019. We are recommending instead going to a tiered structure for 0 to 500,000 gallons of $3.70 and above 500,000 gallons of $3.95. Again, this is to accommodate some of the concerns regarding the spreading of that increase. So we're just making an adjustment there. The second recommendation is to create an irrigation customer class. Essentially, an irrigation customer class are most of the time will be a commercial property or an apartment complex that has one meter that serves the building and a separate meter that serves them as irrigation. What we've found is that those customers peak a lot on the system and they derive a lot of costs on the systems. This is actually a conservative irrigation structure. The actual costs is even higher. We're recommending going to this structure initially because most of these customers are paying $2.50 a 1,000 gallons. So we didn't want to cause too much rate shock to the customers initially. This is to bring them in line so they're paying the cost that they're putting on the system associated with their burdens. When we look at the wastewater utility, your current fee is $15.08, and we're recommending keeping that fee at $15.08 for 2019. This is identical to your current ordinance for the adopted and planned change. Same thing with the volumetric rate, going from 606 to 624. Residential customers receive 1,000 gallons in their base fee. That is consistent with your current ordinance. The only change, though, is your commercial customers are going from 1,000 gallons to 0 gallons in the base fee. Your current ordinance had a 500-gallon increment in there to be in their base fee for this year. And as it comes to find out, your billing system bills to the thousands gallons rounding. And so to have that in there, it doesn't actually impact the rates. So we are recommending changing the ordinance to be consistent with what your billing system can and does do. Real quick, I did skip one quick item here. Your current ordinance, these rate tiers are slightly different. They were in 500-gallon increments on a few of the tiers. We're just rounding up or down again due to that billing system limitation. In answering the questions that were asked regarding how do other utilities compare, we looked at two items for you. The first is the TML survey. And did they get a copy in their packets of the whole survey? Or no? No. Okay. So the TML survey, they break it out for the entirety of everybody that responds. Mm-hmm. They also break it out by population. I've given you communities that are of similar size to Leon Valley. One of the things I have to point out here, and then you'll see saws. One of the things I have to point out and caution whenever we do a benchmarking survey like this is that this is by no means a measurement of the efficiency of the utility in operating the system. The reason being is that, one, especially city-owned utilities, their rates and what costs are part of their rates are entirely different. Our goal is to have your utility a self-sustaining utility. Other utilities may have, for example, I have a number of clients where the debt is paid for by the general fund. The utility fund doesn't have any debt in it. It's all in the tax rate. We have other systems where they have really, really high impact fees or things of that nature. So to get to an apples-to-apples comparison, you'd actually have to look at the cost of the utility, not the rates. That being said, though, this is what your citizens see. And so we're giving you this as some comparative information. Again, the TML survey provides for 5,000 and 10,000 gallons. They don't look at multiple gallon increments. They just look at those 2 data points. So that's what we provided you with. Finally, I've provided you on an average, on a bill based off of usage. Looking at utilities, everybody has a different what's in the base charge versus volumetric charge, et cetera. So we're just looking at what the check the customer is going to write to the utility each year. So that being said, you can see based on the recommendations for residential water customers using 5,000 gallons, at $32.56 is what Leon Valley is we're proposing for the 2019 rates. TML is $33.38. That's an average of the utilities or the cities that responded to their survey that are similar size to Leon Valley. And then SAWS is at $23.62. This is probably, again, where your average customer is going to fall, is in the 6,000 gallon range.
Mm-hmm. I just had I'm kind of surprised that SAWS is so much cheaper. Is it because they've got more customer base than we do?
That's my only supposition, is that they just have so many customers to spread those fixed costs out for. But they are also not purchasing any of their services. You know, they're serving themselves. So that's my guess. But I was impressed with their rates as well.
Well, because they had a meeting here in the I think it was sometime this year, and because they purchased that Vista Ridge project, then you saw these rates just go up and up and up, and so I'm still surprised because consistently it's been 5, 6, 7, 8, 9%. In 2012 it's going to be 12%. 2020 it's going to be 12%. 12%. So anyway, I'm just surprised that it's so much lower.
I was too.
I was really bad. Yes, Councilor Edwards, you're on SAWS too.
Are they subsidized in some way?
Unfortunately, I don't know.
Okay.
That would be definitely an interesting question to find out, is if they have some sort of subsidy going on. Like I said, I looked at it multiple times going, really? Is this right? And that's what they're charging.
Set low for political reasons.
All very good questions.
Okay.
Going now to commercial. The commercial customers, and I apologize, I didn't get you the SAWS rate because they don't have that published on their website. But for the commercial customers, we gave you a comparison for a 2-inch meter, and you can see Leon Valley for 2019 at $230. I do want to point out their current rate structure is at $166. So you are proposing a significant increase there, but compared to everybody else at TML, you're still low on the commercial side. For irrigation customers, I provided you an irrigation meter. I just assumed a 2-inch meter here. Again, most of these are going to be commercial buildings, apartment complexes that have a separate meter for their irrigation. You'll see those increases as well, keeping in mind that the bulk of these customers are currently categorized as commercial. So they're paying the $2.42 rate. Yes, sir.
So for most residential properties that have like a watering system, would they be outside of this estimate here for irrigation?
Yes, sir. They're outside of that estimate. Your typical residential household, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong.
Just have one.
You have one house that has a separate meter for its irrigation system. The reason why some people might do that, or that one home, is because they don't want to pay sewer on their water use. But typically, and again, you do a winter averaging, and so we kind of take that out of the picture. But most of these customers, with the exception of the one, are commercial entities. So this wouldn't impact your residential households. They would be paying, and they're already paying a tiered rate structure. So,
Excuse me, we actually have somebody that uses 1 million gallons.
that was just to give you an idea, looking at that high-end rate. I do think
Wow.
we have, it's
That's
like
a
about
lot of
100,000
water.
Yeah, about 100,000 gallons, what kind of your bigger meters are.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I thought, wow, that's a lot of
You're
water.
like, whoa.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Again, your staff is recommending to adopt revised rates as outlined to become effective on October 1st. They're also recommending reevaluating rates every year, looking at taking a fresh look every year, coinciding with your budget process to make sure your rates are in line and make sense for the upcoming year.
Okay. Very good.
Happy to answer any additional questions.
All right. Any other questions or comments on this for Melissa or Melinda? Now, it's effective, okay, we're going to hopefully pass this tonight, so it'll be effective October 1st. When will our customers get their first bill with the new rates?
So
Yes.
If we pass it on the 1st, the billing cycle runs the 15th of October, so it would be the November bill because we
November
can't
bill.
do September to October bill, so
Okay.
it would be the next. It'd be the
Okay,
October,
very good.
November.
Just so if we get questions, then we know. Okay, very good. Thank you. Yes, Counselor Jordan.
Yes, what kind of notification will it be on the previous bill that the rates are going up?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes, if we pass this tonight, then you said there's basically one pay cycle before they actually come into effect, so will the announcement be on the bill?
So the existing rates that were approved with the last ordinance have already been approved. Those are already in the ordinance, but any new ones, yes, we would put on the bill that the rates for commercial users were affected, if that's what you're asking.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what I'm asking.
Yes, and we put it on our website. We do advertise that we've had a rate increase. We do a rate sheet that has all the new rates that's put out there, and we do mail those out as well with the bill.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Great. All right. So if there are no further questions from anyone in our chambers as well, then may I please have a motion from our council?
I move that we approve the ordinance amending the water and sewer fees.
Second.
All right,
Second.
we have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Jordan to approve the ordinance amending the Leon Valley water and sewer fees as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you. And again, thank you to Melissa and Melinda and Yvonne for all your hard work in this presentation. We do appreciate it. All righty. Thank you.
And if you have any additional questions, they know how to find you.
Certainly, certainly. Thank you. And drive safely back to Austin. All right. Agenda item number 7.2. Ms. Postley, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas City Council authorizing an amendment to the City of Leon Valley Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 12.03, Parking, Stopping, Standing, Division 4, Stop Intersections, Sections 12.02.112, Through Streets and Stop Sign Streets designated, to add Hurley Drive at Watercress, Division 5, Yield Intersection, Section 12.02.142, locations, to remove Hurley Drive, providing for repeal or severability and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. All right. We have Ms. Melinda Moritz, our Public Works Director, here. Are there any updates or additions, corrections from the last presentation?
No, Mayor and Council.
All right. Very good. So, yes, Councilor Jordan.
Yes, ma'am. I asked for this item to be researched because when I'm going home in that area, right behind Wells Fargo Bank on Watercrest, Hurley Drive comes out, and 99 times out of 100, the person has a yield sign there, but they just, it's almost like a race to see who can, and they pull out in front of you almost every time. So I have a hard time understanding why people don't want to stop, but it was a yield sign, so I just requested that a stop sign be there because Thank goodness there hadn't been a serious accident to my knowledge there, but there will be at that rate. So
Right.
that's why I asked for it to be researched
very
and
good.
brought it.
And I thought somebody brought up, maybe it was you, Mr. Martinez, just to replace the yield sign with a stop sign and not the whole, did we talk about that last time?
It was talked about, I don't remember who
So are
did-
we going to
who
just
did
do it that way? Just replace the face of the yield sign with a stop sign?
And it
Okay.
can come from the police budget.
Yes. Exactly. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate your
Red light
bringing a need from your community to the council, so thank you for that. All right. So what's the pleasure, Councilor Jordan, what would you like to do on this? This is our second reading, so we can vote on it tonight.
I'd like to make the motion that the item be approved as recorded.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilor Jordan and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to approve agenda item number 7.2 as presented regarding the yield sign at Hurley Drive. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you. Moving then to ordinance number 7.3. Ms. Pasley, if you'll please present,
An
please
ordinance-
read it.
Yes, ma'am. An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, City Council authorizing a fiscal year 2017-2018 general fund budget adjustment in the amount of $10,565 to reimburse expenses related to emergency response to vehicular accidents from Fire Recovery USA, LLC, providing for repeal or severability and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Boy, Mr. Blake, Wade, you mean in 2 weeks we went from 10,565 to 14? That's amazing.
Happy or what?
Well, I mean,
That
we're
is
always happy.
awesome,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor.
Very good. I mean, you presented it really quick last time, but we have to compliment you on increasing that amount.
Well, thank you.
You bet.
After we last
Yes.
met September
Mhm.
4th, Mayor,
Yes.
Council, we received an additional $3,435.
Mhm.
It's not magic with the 14 grand even. That's just
Okay.
what it added up
Just
to.
what it added up to.
So the only change we've made is from the 10,565 to the 14,000, out of respect for the time of each one of you and an effort to aid in time management. Just added into this budget
Certainly.
adjustment ordinance is what I'm asking to do, and everything stays the same, all the readings, everywhere through
Just
our
that one
PowerPoint, which
change.
changed it to
Okay.
$14,000.
Very good. Thank you.
So I move that we,
One question first.
I'm sorry.
Question
in the-
first and then a motion. Okay,
In
go ahead.
the,
Yeah.
huh? In this, and your previous discussion about how we've had ordinances and stuff, one of the items that you put on there is budget adjustments like this. Couldn't this be something that we don't have to do an ordinance and just bring it part of the consent agenda and make it?
Yeah, no, right now we have to do ordinances for your budget adjustments. But what we can do is when you revisit your home rule charter, we can look at changing that.
Okay, but on your presentation earlier, you had budget adjustments as one of the items that you didn't have to come.
No, that was one of the items that didn't have to be vetted through a committee.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, very good. All right, so what's the pleasure of the council on this?
And I make a motion we pass this as read.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilor Martinez and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to approve ordinance number 7.3 as presented with the increase in dollars. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Moving then to ordinance number 7.4. Ms. Pasley, if you'll please read that.
An ordinance of the City of Leon Valley, Texas, City Council authorizing an amendment to the fiscal 2017-2018 general fund municipal budget to adjust the budget in the amount of $150,819 from the Tier 2 Traffic Safety Program to provide funding for engineering fees, a traffic signal, and traffic safety signage, providing for repealer, severability, savings clause, and providing for an effective date.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Chief, and
Good
welcome.
evening, ma'am. Council.
Do you have any additions, corrections, or changes to
No, ma'am.
this presentation from
No,
last
ma'am.
September 4th? Okay. Any questions from our council or from anyone in our chambers on this particular agenda item? Okay.
I move that we approve 7.4 as presented.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion by Counselor Alcacer and a second by Counselor Jordan to approve ordinance number 7.4 as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You bet.
I think I'm abstaining.
Yes, you've got ordinance number 7.5. Ms. Postlew, if you'll please read that ordinance.
An ordinance authorizing the installation of 3 additional photographic traffic signal enforcement system cameras, providing for repealer, severability, and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Chief Salvaggio, any additions, corrections on this
No, ma'am.
particular? I just had one question. If these are approved tonight, is it 30 to 90 days or 60 to 90 days? When will-
I'd say realistically, ma'am, after we looked at, how it went the last time, we're looking at 90 to 120
90
days.
to 120.
And with the holidays
Ooh.
coming up, I just,
Okay.
it's going to take them a little bit of time.
I need to.
We got to
look
go through permitting, and we have,
Okay.
and maybe be quicker now that we've kind of broken the code with the City of San Antonio and CPS, but I'm not looking for these to be until, end of the calendar year.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
need to clarify that for the Pavona Place people. Okay. Any
Mayor,
other questions? Yes, Counselor
Sorry.
Jordan.
Go ahead, I was just going to make a motion. I didn't
No,
interrupt.
I'm finished. Yeah.
Make a motion,
Oh, we have Lynn Joseph who has a question. Yes, ma'am. These are for traffic lights at Evers and Hebner, and then also one at Shadow Mist. Okay, so there's 3 that we're adding. Right. We have 11 plus 3 more is our 14 total. Yes. Mr. Blackmore? Blackmore, yes, sir. Good evening.
I'm Richard Blackmore. I live at Forest Haven.
Mhm.
What I'd like to know, we got a governor is planning on putting a bill forward doing away with all these traffic lights. Are we prepared, if he gets this law passed, are we prepared to take these cameras down, or I know you're going to be going to Austin. That's all I want to know.
Okay, very good. I think that's an excellent question that just came up between the last meeting and this meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
First off, right now, it's at the level of, it's on his wish list of agenda of things to try to do. Once he files it, or if he does file it, then we'll go through the process. And all I can say is that the last time that this was brought up, the compromise with the businesses and the cities were that they would let the contracts run out. So they weren't going to get into the mess of the contracting aspect of it. Our contract is for 10 years. We've only been in place for about 6 months now. So we got a long way to go for that. So yes, we're prepared to go in there and try to make sure that the governor and everybody knows the true facts from us, because quite honestly, I don't think he's gotten all the information from all of the places in Texas. I've seen some of the same reports, and we're just not seeing those facts here. And so we'll take that opportunity to go up and try to make sure that he hears what's going on in our community and what's important to us. And then if something happens, we'll deal with that. But it won't cost us anything in the contract if they have to come out. It's in our contract that if they have to come out, then they come out, and we'll lose the officers that we put on, and we'll deal with that down the road. But I don't see that happening. Just looking at what they did the last time they tried this, and it didn't get out of committee.
okay, thank you. Ms. Kinsler, did you want to add anything to that?
Sure. I'll actually be sitting on the legislative committee this year with the Texas Municipal League. I'll be the city manager representative there, so we'll know first what, when this, if it even gets a bill assigned to it, we'll know when it's on the agenda first, and we'll make sure that we have Texas Municipal League behind us, and we'll make sure that our citizens know as well, because the one thing that the governor is looking at is out-of-state studies. And we have evidence right here in Leon Valley along Bandera Road that within a 6-month time frame, there was a 25% reduction. You know that. And so it'll be exciting to have another 3 or 4 months of data, because I wholeheartedly believe we'll continue to show the reduction in red light runners, and that's what we're looking for. The goal ultimately, and Chief Salvaggio said this more than one time, the goal ultimately is for those cameras not to be able to pay for themselves because driver behavior has changed. And then we take them down because then the taxpayer's having to pay for them. That's the best-case scenario right there. But we are seeing a difference in driver behavior, and we are seeing a reduction in red light running. And I see many citizens shaking their head. And the really neat thing that this council did is, before they even thought about the red light cameras, is they really vetted it through the citizens. And people outside of Leon Valley don't like them, but people in Leon Valley want them. As everybody's sitting back there shaking their heads, they want them. And so anyway, we're going to make sure that your voices are heard. And I keep wanting to say Santa Fe because that's where I've always done my legislative work. I just about said it in Austin. And so we'll make sure that your voices are heard. But we will have the full support of TML, and they've got lobbyists and the people that watch those calendars every day. And so 3 o'clock in the morning, we're getting emails letting us know what's coming for that day, like really fresh information. So we're not going to miss hearings.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Chief, did you want to summarize what you're using the money for, or I think everybody saw it in their packet?
Yes, ma'am. The
the 150,000.
Oh, the 150,000. Yes, ma'am. I can re-summarize it. The main thing is the traffic signal at Wurzbach and Exchange Parkway, getting the new lights up there, which will help out that intersection. Some signage and the engineering study that will for Evers Road and Huebner, which is where we're actually going to put one of the cameras.
Okay, very good. And Councilor
Chief, I just had a
Rodriguez
quick
has a
question.
question.
On
Yes.
the signal light at Wurzbach and Exchange Parkway, what's the expected time for them to finish?
They said by the end of this month.
Okay.
That's what I was told, and Melinda's still here? No. Melinda said it's going to be done by the end of this month.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Yes, Councilor Martinez.
Just out of curious, how many cities in Texas have red light cameras?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know how many. I know it's quite a few. We'll get that for you, though. We can look on the website and get you that by the end of the night.
Okay, good. Very good. All right. Anyone else?
The state could lose a lot of money from the Tier 2.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I like to remind everybody is the state actually makes more money on this than we do. They actually get 50% split and don't have to do anything for it. But that money goes right back into our hospitals to deal with traffic accidents and things where people don't have insurance. So it has a huge impact. It goes towards some very important things. And if they lose that revenue, then somebody's got to come up with it. And that's why I'd be kind of surprised if the legislature said, yeah, this is where we want to go. I really would.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Edwards.
Political question. You speculate on what?
Oh, no.
What the reason for the mayor, governor's?
Do not know. I really don't. Yeah. There's a misunderstanding of the civil liberties and things like that. I'll tell you, one of the things that's, if you really understand it, you read our ordinance, you actually have more steps built in here, and you can see more quicker than if one of my officers actually stop you. You have a lot more things that you can see ahead of time and make decisions on, and you have so many more steps to be able to go and say, I didn't do it, and have the judge and all these other people look at it. So to say that there's a presumption of guilt before, I really don't understand it.
Okay.
Or the lack of due process. Absolutely.
Okay.
But I can't say that all cities are like us. We did that for a very specific reason. The way we did it was to make sure that we kept control, that the officers were actually the ones writing the citations, and that they had the ability to do these things to make sure that they didn't do anything wrong. They were not going to get cited. So we went into it looking at making sure that the civil liberties of our citizens were maintained.
Okay. And if the person who runs the red light doesn't pay the actual red light ticket, does not affect their credit, but it affects their
driver's license,
ability to renew their driver's license.
Correct.
Is that correct? I
And,
just think that's everybody should know that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. All right.
So
Anything
I move
else?
that we approve 7.5 for 3 additional photographic traffic signal cameras.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Edwards to approve ordinance number 7.5 as presented regarding the red light cameras and miscellaneous other cost. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Then moving to the last ordinance, 7.6. Ms. Pasley, if you'll please read that.
An ordinance authorizing an amendment to the City of Leon Valley Wireless Services Small Cells Design Manual, removing the requirement to submit a commercial building permit, inserting provisions regulating interference between facilities of different providers, providing for repeal or severability and savings clauses, and providing for an effective date.
All right. Welcome back.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council.
Yes, Mr. Milan. We did have an issue with the interference. Did we get that all cleared up from
Yes,
the
ma'am.
last?
Councilor Martinez raised some discrepancies between our existing code and our design manual. So definitely we looked at that and looked at incorporating all the provisions in the code and making sure they're repeated in the design manual. Councilor Martinez also reached out with some additional questions regarding applying additional applicability towards those non-interference regulations regarding FCC. And so they raised good questions, and so we consulted our legal staff, and it's always good to make sure they review any changes that we make and ongoing review of those ordinances. They did notice a few things, and so we thought it was a good measure to have them take a look a little more comprehensively at our small cell ordinance as well as our design manual, before we go through and finalize the changes. So that's exactly what we've done. We've reached out to them. We do, of course, that means we need a little bit more time on that. And so they are currently looking at that, and we anticipate being able to finalize and make sure everything is perfect with our ordinance and with our design manual. So based on that, they're looking at it right now. So our staff recommendation is to table this item further until the next meeting, until we're able to comprehensively look and bring that before the council.
Very good. I appreciate that. Yes, Councilor Martinez.
I did go to the CPS Small Cell Site Conference, and I did bring up the interference question, and some of the other cities chimed in and said, hey, why isn't that in our ordinance? Or, they were receptive to it. And basically, CPS's take was it's already covered under FCC law, but you can put it in your ordinance. The big difference, and they even mentioned it, is if you let the FCC handle it, it could take 2 and 3 years for them to handle the interference problem. If it's brought in your ordinance, boom, you can cut them off instantly. And the reason, one of the things I gave is, okay, if you had one of these cell sites next to a hospital, and the transmitter went bad, it could affect the whole radio system for that hospital. And could you really run your hospital for 2 or 3 years while the FCC does their investigation?
Well, all right. Well, thank you for that. All right. So your recommendation then is to table this ordinance 7.6 to a date certain, which would be our next council meeting, which would be October 1st.
October 2nd, I believe.
Well,
October
first,
1st.
we've
Okay.
moved it, because
That's
of
right.
National Night
Thank
Out.
you.
Yes, I mean,
Sorry.
it's just, Okay, so.
I so move.
Yes.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Jordan to table ordinance number 7.6 to October 1st, 2018. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion does carry. Yes, sir. Do you have some information hot off the press?
My fire brethren back there with their quick fingers found out is 51, with the largest city being Dallas and then Fort Worth. So there's 51 other cities, and we're on the list, so
And
it is updated.
did I read that Houston used to have them, and
Houston
then
did.
they took them away
And the
by
citizens,
vote, right?
The citizens
Yes.
voted them out,
Uh-huh.
so they can do that.
They can do that.
I don't
Okay.
think our citizens want that, though.
No. Okay, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. All right. Then moving then to the regular agenda, item number 8.1, discuss and consider possible action on an in-kind grant request by the Leon Valley Historical Society for use of the Leon Valley Community Center at 6427 Evers Road for the Pioneer Gala. And we have Maribel Mendoza here this evening to present.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. So the purpose of the in-kind grant the Leon Valley Historical Society is requesting an in-kind grant for the use of the Leon Valley Community Center Friday, October 19th of this year for the Pioneer Fundraising Gala. The setup of the center will be during the hours of 2 p.m. to 5 on Friday, and the event will begin from 6:30 to about 10:30. And the purpose of this event is to fundraise for the Huebner Onion Homestead and Stagecoach Stop Restoration Project. So the request is for the use of the facility to include a waiver of rental fees and assistance with setup and takedown of the event. The Leon Valley Historical Society is willing to pay for the deposit, the cleanup, setup, and security fees. And just a little background on the Leon Valley Historical Society. They've requested the assistance for the third time, would be this year, which was granted both years, 2016 and 2017. So the fiscal impact would be $700, which would be the waiver of the rental fees. It does meet our C statement, and the committee forwards a recommendation of approval to council with a score of 19.25 of 24. And again, city's council discretion to waive rental fees. And I do have Ms. Kathy Hill here available for any questions.
Good evening. Hi, Kathy, would you like to say anything in addition to what's been presented? Yes. Okay, very good.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Just that the continued opportunity for the Leon Valley Historical Society to request this in-kind grant helps us every year, adding to our bottom line. And so we appreciate the opportunity to be able to request it, and we are always grateful.
Okay, thank you very much. So tickets are $40. We'll push that.
Yes.
There you go. On Friday, October 19th.
Live music.
Okay, live music and good food. Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right. So any other questions for Ms. Mendoza or Ms. Hill? All right.
I move that we approve item 8.4 as presented. 8.1.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilor Alcacer and a second by Councilor Rodriguez to approve agenda item number 8.1 regarding the Historical Society waiver of the fee. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion does carry. Thank you, and it will be another fun event. Thank you. Moving then to agenda item number 9, citizens to be heard. Anyone remaining in our chambers that would like to address the council, please come forward. Okay, seeing no one else, if there's no objection, we will move to adjourn at 8:25 in the evening on September the 18th, 2018. Thank you all very much. Good evening.